we're going to run through some new features in Methvin. I'm going to hand you over to Sindra, our product manager, and she'll run you through the majority of it all. Sindra, take us away.
Hello everyone. So this is Sidra and I'll be guiding you through some features and recent innovations across Methvin's platform. Let me just quickly mention which features we will go through today. So the first one is in the Takeoff app, we will learn to use copy from master, smart variables, and link measure tool. From there, we will move into enhancements in the estimate app, like the provisional rates, global variables, pricing alternatives, and auto price from projects. Other tools like subcontractor and material adjudication and addendum will be covered by Richard at the end of the session. Then we will look at some key features in the job costing that will help you track progress and manage payments. So let's get started. Let me share my screen. Okay, so I already have this plan open for you guys. So let's start with Takeoff. And the first feature that we will discuss is the copy from master. So this feature lets you bring in previously created line items, including their descriptions and equations. It does not import the quantity itself, but it saves you the time by eliminating the need to rewrite equations or set up line items from scratch. So I have this floor plan open and I want to measure the skirting boards of this entire floor plan. And I remember that I have this previous project in which I already have these line items, similar line items. What I can do is just go over here, and this is from here we can select the master project. This is the project. So this will bring in the entire line items of that project. Now these are the skirting boards that I was talking about. I'm just going to select it and drag and drop it over here. So once I have these line items over here, I can make the changes that I want. Like if over here we have bedroom 1, so we can change the name to bedroom 1, and then we can start by continue drawing, and then we can measure the bedroom's length and everything and all the other takeoff. So uh, so now for the variables and the link measure, let's use an example of this bedroom. I want to measure the floor tiling of this bedroom. So let's start by making some line items. So the first one is bedroom 1, and then I want to measure the floor tiling. The skirting board. The footing. And maybe some walls. So let's just make these the child item of this bedroom one. Okay, so now for the floor tiling, I need the area of this bedroom. So I'm going to start at area takeoff. And we're going to perform it by clicking on the plan. The last point we will double click. So this will give me the area of the floor plan of the bedroom 1. Now okay, so now for the rest of the line items, I need the perimeter of this area. So you can see in this dimension tab over here that we have this variable P perimeter for the perimeter, and this is 14.34, and I need this exact same perimeter for all these other line items. So what I'm going to do is, instead of performing the takeoff again, what I can do is just select all these. Okay, so we're gonna link the measure, and that is going to bring in all the area in these line items as well. So now let's just learn how to use these variables. Now instead of A, I want the variable for the perimeter. So I'm going to just, for the skirting board, we just need the perimeter, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove the A and instead let's add P, and that is going to bring in the perimeter. Now let's just also add the unit for it. Then we have the footing, for which we also need the perimeter multiplied by the width, which is 0.6, and 0.3 for the height. So that is going to give me the quantity for this footing, and let's just make it meter cube. And then for the walls, we need the perimeter and the height. So perimeter multiplied by the height, which is going to be 2.6. So, and then meter squares. So this is how you can use our variables smartly, and see, there was no need to perform a takeoff again for all of these. So thank you. Now let's move to estimate. So the first feature that I'll walk you through in our estimate app is the provisional pricing option. So this is a top-down approach where we assign a rough estimated rate when we don't yet have all the detailed breakdowns. So this takeoff that we performed, I don't have the accurate pricing for it, but what I can do is use this provisional pricing option. We're going to turn it on from there, and then you can just give a rough estimate of how much this is going to cost me. The floor tiling would cost me like 45, and then for the skirting board, let's add 10. For the footing, let's also add 45, and for the walls, how about a 90? Okay, so this is our provisional rate right now, and we can come back again here and change it later on. Now, if you open the worksheet, you will see that it has a placeholder of a plug resource at the moment, and later on you can add more line items and make the entire cost breakdown. So over here you can see that it is marked as provisional price, and once you are done accurately pricing it, you can just turn it off by clicking over here again. Then when you go back, this is no more going to be a provisional rate. Now, another thing that we can do with this feature is that you can filter the provisional line items only. So there's like in one place you have all the line items that are provisional, and you can review them and make adjustments as you need. And then you can just close this. You'll go back here, and then when you're done with the feature, you can just close it. Okay. So the next, let's look at global variables. So global variables are values that you can preset, like labor rates, floor heights, or working hours, and then you can reuse those values throughout your estimate. So let me just show you how to access them and make them. So this G over here opens up a worksheet for the global variables. Now what you can do is just add an item. Let me just add a labor rate. So we add the description, we give it a variable, something like LR or LV, and then we can give it a unit. Hours per day. Oh. And then the value will be 8. Okay, so now how are we going to use it in a worksheet? So for the floor tiling, I want to add the labor cost as well, right? So what I'm going to do, open the worksheet, use a line item, and name it as something like labor cost. Let's just add a random resource for now. And then what I can do is open the brackets, and that is going to give me a list of the global variables that I made over here. So let's add this one, per 2 meter squares per day. So this is how it's going to give me a different rate. So this is going to be updated for now. Oh yes, so you have to first save the worksheet, and then it will be updated over here. In a minute, yes. Okay, so later on, if your labor rate increases, let's say, so you go back to the global variable and then you can change it from, how about 10? And when you come back over here, you will see that the changes will be updated in the entire estimate wherever this global variable is being used. Okay, so the next feature that we're going to discuss is the alternative pricing alternatives. So this feature allows you to evaluate different project scenarios. You can enter different alternative quantities for your line items, and then it gives you an alternative cost of that line item and as well as the entire job. So you can access it over here. So by default, it's going to open one column for alternative one, and you can add one quantity. But if you want to look at different more than one scenarios, then you can toggle the columns from here. Let's say I want to see two scenarios. So what I'm going to do is open two columns. So over here we see this compact wall and the quantity is 5.91, right? So I want to see how much 7 meter cubes is going to cost me. So this is how much the 7 is going to cost me, and this is the change in the total amount of the cost of the job. Then let's say, how about I want 15 of it in a different scenario. So that is going to give me the amount for the 15 meter cubes, and the entire job amount will also update over here. Now let's suppose that I do not want this a line item. So what I'm going to do is, like, I'm going to make the quantity 0, and that is going to subtract it from the total job. So this is how we can use this alternative pricing. Next feature that we are going to discuss is the auto price from projects. For that, let me use this engineering bricks line item, which is not priced at the moment. And I remember pricing something similar in a previous project. So instead of going through all the projects to look for it, I can find it in one place. So what we are going to do is right click and click auto price from projects. And that is going to give me a list of all the projects this line item is being used in. Now I want to check that which one fits the best to my current project. So we can review the worksheets over here. So this one has a bricklayer of 2, and let's check this one. So the bricklayer of 1. So I would prefer this one. So we're going to select this one because this matches my current project and click auto price. And now this is going to bring in the entire worksheet from that project to my current project. So this is it for the estimate. Rest of the features will be discussed by Richard at the end. Let's now move to the job costing. So once you are done pricing and now your work has started on site, and we want to track the work progress and manage progress claims and keep tabs on what's been paid by the client. So this app is designed for that. Now we have primarily three columns. The first one is the actual quantity. This is what you've actually completed on site. And this claimed column, this is what you tell the client that you have done. And paid quantity column is the quantity or the amount the client has actually paid you for. So for example, over here we have 15.35 of this foundation, and up till now I have done like 10 meter cubes of it. So I'm going to mention 10 over here. But now I want to overclaim a bit and avoid waiting until the next payment cycle so that I can improve the business cash flow. So I'm going to type in that I have done 12 meter cubes of it. But the client is like, no, you've only done 11. So this is how you can track the work done and the payment as well. Now, if we are feeling lazy and we do not want to type in the work done for all the line items, what we can easily do is we can use this external wall. Okay. You can select the parent item, and in the percentage bill column, what we can do is add the percentage of how much work is done. So let's just say that 50% of the external walls are done. So that is going to bring in the 50% of all the quantities, and we don't have to write them individually. So now that we are done with the first valuation, we can start another progress payment by clicking over here. And that is going to start our another progress payment. So let's recalculate this. Double click on it and then cross. So now the to date column quantities are going to move to the previous column, and now for this progress payment we can make the changes that we want. Like up till now we have done 14. So that is just going to automatically update in all of them. And then you can say that instead of 50, I am done with 70% of all of this. Now, let's look into some reports that we can use. So if you want to send your client a report, let's select a report from here. Okay, so this is the entire report, and there are some options that we have over here to change the quantity, that whatever quantity you want to be shown in your report. For me, I want this current actual quantity, which is going to give me the quantity of the current period, the actual minus previous. So select this. So it's going to show me that currently how much work has been is done in this current period. Now let's take a quick look at this tab over here. This tab is almost same as the estimate interface, and over here you can add any variation orders that your client gives you. So let's make a new line item. And let's say let's call it just variation orders. And let's say that your client says that they need an additional window. So we're gonna add an additional window, enter the final quantity, and then you can later on price it. And this is how you can add the variation orders in the job costing app as well. So with the job costing app, you're not just tracking work, you're also managing claims, cash flow, and reporting clearly. So this brings us to the end of my session. Thank you so much, everyone. Now Richard will continue.
Awesome, Sandra. Great job. That's a tough act to follow. Thank you very much. I'll quickly share my screen. Okay. So the two tools that I quite appreciate that Methvin has is the adjudication for subcontractors and materials. I'll run through the materials, the subcontractor adjudication now. The material one's very similar. Once you've mastered one, you've mastered both of them, just to give everyone an idea how it works. And then the other is the addendum manager. Often when you on a bigger project, the client can make some sort of substantial changes to a schedule and send them through during the tender period, which can make it very tricky if they haven't tracked changes well, which can happen as well. And this tool just makes it much more auditable and easy to follow. So let's jump into the subcontractor adjudication first. So I've got this little job, and let's say we want to put out this flooring portion of this project to subcontractor. If I jump into here, you can hit add new trade, and you type in the trade, flooring or whatever. I'm just going to select and open and show how it works. You can then add as many subcontractors as you want. We'll add 3 for this. Say we're going to go out to 3 different teams or subcontractors, sorry. Close that. So what happens is it just creates an empty subcontractor adjudication for us. From the right-hand side here, you can select and drag in the area or the task that you want the subcontractor to perform. So you can either just grab in one and it'll pull in the one item, or you can just bring in the whole section and it will populate the whole section for you. So once you've determined the scope that you want them to price, from this little drop down, you can export this to Excel, and then all you do is send that Excel spreadsheet to your subcontractors. What we have is we've hidden the first 3 columns, which have unique IDs to them. So when we receive the prices back from the subcontractors, we can easily import it into the adjudication for ourselves. And even if they don't use the Excel spreadsheet, it's quite easy just to open this and drop their prices against it. Once you've sent it out and received the subcontract quotes back from the subcontractors, I'm just going to jump into this one now. I was going to have to, I meant to delete these earlier. I'll quickly delete them. Sorry, I forgot. Let's delete it differently. I'll quickly add them back, so we just start from scratch. Those. So I've already prepared the subcontract packages in the background. So all we have to go is to import from Excel each of them. So there's the first one we hit, import, and we'll drop that into subcontractor 1. Subcontractor 2, we'll grab theirs as well. Sorry, import from Excel. And then same goes for subcontractor 3. So once you've got all your subcontractors in, we've got an incredibly powerful tool, also way in evaluating the tenders when people don't complete the full schedule. Often you'll send out your schedule and hope that the subcontractors will price everything, but more often than not, they'll just price the portions that they believe they'll be competitive in, or leave out some items that they aren't interested. But at the end of the day, you want to get a solid subcontractor package together. So if we jump into here and go to the comparison, this gives us a rundown of each tender. So this shows the portion that each subcontractor is priced. Sorry, I need to just come back here and show you this. So one of our subcontractors, he added his own line item, this indirect costs. And by doing that, he's added $600 separate to the rest of his tender. But because it's in the schedule, it gets imported and then just dropped under unlinked items. So all the other items that he's priced here match line items in our schedule, but this doesn't. And this guy's been a little bit lazy or is not interested in doing these 2 line items. So he hasn't provided a comprehensive tender for us. But one cautionary note is if we've now got this new line item, this subcontractor 2, this is included for him. If you leave any item blank, that means that he's considering it part of his tender. So we just got to say there that that's his rate for that item is 0, and same goes for this subcontractor. So it's excluded from his tender. It's not part of his tender. So if we go back to that adjudication that we were looking at earlier, yeah, we can see the dollars that each subcontractor has priced up front. So he's priced, this is the rates that they've priced, but it's not necessarily their full tender. So here you can see this is, if any line items haven't been priced by a subcontractor, we then make up with either the minimum or the maximum or the minimum. So here, this guy, if we take the highest price of the other 2 subcontractors and add it to him, to his tender, you see he now becomes reasonably expensive, just under the subcontractor number 3. The same goes for the minimum amount. He becomes cheaper, but he hasn't priced everything. So even though he's cheaper, unless we really want to win this job and want to take the risk of trying to bully this guy into those lower rates and land up more than likely losing money and not coming to agreement, we'll kick this guy to touch, and from this adjudication, it looks like the best person to go with is subcontractor 2. We also have a preferred makeup. So if you've got a whole lot of tenders and they haven't priced the whole scope, none of them, but one is priced a fair dealer and you actually like his work, you can actually select your preferred makeup, and it'll use that guy's price to make up the tender, as opposed to the minimum and maximum of all the line items that have been priced. So very powerful little tool, adjudication tool. Once we've done your adjudication and priced your work, you then want to take your line items or your subcontractor and import it into our schedule as a subcontractor. There's a few options. We can add columns, and you can actually copy subcontractors in. I'm not going to show that now, but you can copy subcontractors. You can subtract one subcontractor from another. You can actually, if you've priced up all this work in first principles, and let's say you've received two subcontractors' prices, and one included labor and plant only, and the other subcontractor included labor, plant, and materials. Very difficult to do a good adjudication between the two. What this lets you do is you can do an import from your pricing, and you can physically select what portion. So you can say, I want to only import the labor cost and materials cost from my first principle pricing, and you can then import that into a column called labor, my labor plant, as a subcontractor. And then you can go create a third one where you add your labor, your first principle pricing, labor and plant, you'd have imported the materials only from your first principle pricing, and then you'd compare your materials with the subcontractor that's only priced the labor and plant. This way, you've then got his price with your materials and a full price with labor and plant, and you can do a like for like or apples for apples comparison of the two. Very important or very handy and powerful tool. So currently we've come to the realism or the conclusion that we're happy with subcontractor 2, and we now want to import his price into our tender. So here you go, rates to bill. sorry, first we have to, it gave us a little note to remind us, first we have to spread unlinked items. So spread unlinked items, and now we can go to rates to bill. Here we have a few options. You can add or update. So often as prices come in, you may put your first subcontractor price that comes in just to start getting a budget as you're progressing your tender. And you may want to then change. So you've got the option to update your subcontract or suspend your existing pricing. What that does is if you've priced at first principles, it suspends it in the worksheet, it saves it there, but makes it no longer add up to the total, and then it'll input the subcontractor's rate. Or you can clear everything out of your current worksheets for all these line items and only go with the subcontractor's subcontractor's price. Or your last option is to replace the resource that you've selected. So from this drop down is you can select the subcontractor that you want to, or in the resource table, you'll have a resource that has a unit of sum usually, or lump sum, with a value of 1. And we only show resources that have a rate of 1 here, because you need a rate of 1 times by the subcontractor's rate to be imported into the worksheet, is the way it works. So I'm going to use this flooring subcontractor and then hit save. So what that will do now is it'll leave any pricing, but currently we've got nothing priced. So a better bet, if you have priced thing, is to go suspend your existing worksheet and import the current subcontractor's price, and you'll hit save and import. So what that's done is now you can see this is the pricing, and it's brought the subcontractor 29, 30, 31 into the current tender. So that's a wrap on the subcontractor adjudication. Now I'll quickly jump into the addendum manager. So this addendum manager, as I said earlier, it can be really handy if you have on a big job where you have thousands of line items. The worst I've had was 7,000 line items, and with a week to go, the client gave us a huge change of schedule with nothing tracked. When I say huge, I would say it was close to 70% of the SOP had changed. And without having these kind of tools, this addendum manager, you can do it, but it just becomes painfully slow and to run through line by line. I'll import. So from the file, we've got this import addendum option. And here you go find the Excel spreadsheet that the client gave you, and you import it. So if you're familiar with our software, everywhere we use this import, our mapping tool, we call it, very handy, where you come here and you select what each column is, so we know where to map the Excel spreadsheet columns to the actual Methvin lines. So that's item description, and that's quantity, and that is unit. So once you've selected the mapping, all you do is import, and this throws the current bill against the addendum items. And here you can see we've got 2 line items that are not relevant. So we just say ignore addendum items, so they won't be pulled in. And then this is showing that we've got a discrepancy in the description. And if I go here, it'll show us what the discrepancy is. And reading there, they are identical. So I'm guessing there's just a space or something small that's causing it to look at as two different line items. Then the next three line items match perfectly, so we don't have to do anything. Here we've got a quantity difference, so we'll just go replace job item with the addendum item. So if on a bigger screen, you'd be able to see here, see it all neat and tidy. Maybe I can shrink it up a little bit. No, can't. So this shows the action that's going to be taken. The first two are going to be inserted. Oh, sorry, those were not supposed to be. Those were supposed to be ignored. I'm not going to change it now. And then as we run down, the next line item here, the staff has been removed. It's no longer in the addendum one. So we want to go here and say, delete job item. And now these are matching. Risk and they're not matching because it's a quantity difference. So we'll say replace the addendum item with the job item. So once we do the update, that H will become the quantity here. Same thing goes here. This is a new line item. So insert addendum, insert addendum item. Then we have got a quantity change, so we want to say replace addendum item. And these two items are perfect matches. It's telling us nice and neatly. Here is another. So, sorry, let me just double check. We are environmental. So these three items here have been removed from the client schedule and are no longer required. So we'll delete the job items. And you can just carry on doing this all the way through the job. And we map what you're doing. And then you just hit update, and it will then update your current pricing with the pricing that you've just done. Okay, very handy. And as you can see, you don't have to get to the bottom of this is a long schedule to do it. If you're halfway through, you can stop and update it and then carry on later. A word of caution is I would definitely create a backup of your or a duplicate of your project before you start this. It's always a tricky process and worth having a backup before you start, just in case you get a little bit lost. It's a little tricky the first time you use it. Well, that's the end of our demo. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us.